let's welcome Steve Kerr into the conversation. Presented by Great Clips, in sports, success is about team effort. Funny. And the same is true for your hair. Great Clips, it's going to be great. Coach, how are you tonight? What's going on?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. I wonder if you'd like to even respond to that Warrior fan who was just calling with us and said that what's going on right now is all about effort. What do you feel about your team's effort level right now?
No, the effort's fine. It's about confidence, and we're lacking confidence. And so while it may look like effort, what it really is just guys being demoralized at times. And when we're a team that does not, as you guys know, we don't get layups or free throws. We don't score easily. We don't get easy points. And so when shots aren't going in, I think our guys have felt a little bit demoralized and, shoulders sag a little bit. And maybe that looks like a lack of effort, but it's not effort. Our guys are playing hard. They're just in a little bit of a funk, and it's more just confidence and belief than anything right now.
Coach, you've used the word confidence a lot, not just today, but lately. And so I wanted to ask you this. Do you believe that confidence breeds winning, or does winning breed confidence? And which order is more important to your team right now?
Chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
I mean, it goes hand in hand. I mean, it's you could see early in the season, we were making shots. And I think the first 15 games, we were second in the league in three-point percentage. As a team, we were 39%. And we knew that wouldn't hold up. I mean, that's a really high percentage to shoot. You're not going to do that the whole season. But you saw the result of shots going in. We played faster. Our defense was sharper. And so I think what's happened, over the last few weeks is shots haven't gone in. And all of a sudden we're, not quite as fast paced. We're not quite as sharp defensively. And so it's all tied together.
And when you look at it offensively, and I know last night is a really small sample, but it looked like the dry spell just kept going on and on. Is it shot creation that's the problem, or is it just more the execution of the shots that you're getting?
Again, this is not a cop-out. It's always a little of both. We watched the tape. We had a lot of good shots last night. I think we were 1 for 12 from three in the first quarter, 3 for 24 at half. So there were definitely shots that were there for us to make, but there were also other possessions where it didn't look like we had great ball movement or great rhythm, and the shots weren't as good. And so it's a little of both.
Coach Steve Kerr with us on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Coach, you made the comment also last night, not a lot of layups, not a lot of free throws. I think we get the roster and why that doesn't happen, but is there something you can do to change that? Because if the other team is getting easier buckets, I get it. That's going to make it hard on you guys every night.
Yeah, it's a killer. And when you play a team like Boston, the defending champs, they're they've got guys who can get to the rim and get easy points. So look, we've been on the other end of this too. For years we got a lot of layups and we could create layups out of our offense, but we could also play out of pace, and we had guys who could get to the rim occasionally. And so some of it is personnel, and then some of it is you have to figure out what are some of the things we can do better as a team to generate some easier baskets. And those are all the things we talk about every day as a staff.
And you mentioned the personnel, and you've got the walking wounded over there with Kuminga, and now Draymond with the calf, and Pod's hopefully back soon. Does this make it so that your rotation becomes not so much comical, but the idea of Moses Moody playing the four, is that something that's born just out of pure necessity, or have you found something that maybe will work long term?
No, I actually like Moses at the four. I mean, the modern NBA, most fours are just out on the perimeter shooting threes anyway. It's not like you're dealing with, these behemoths down on the block posting you up. But you do need to have strength and the ability to guard the low block. If you get switched on to a guy like Horford or Porzingis or somebody, you got to be able to battle down there, and Moses can do that. So I like him at the 4, and right now it's a necessity with Draymond out and JK out as well. So every team deals with injuries, so you roll with it, and you put your best foot forward.
We saw the report from the team that Draymond is going to be out at least a week. Is there anything you can expand on in terms of how he's feeling and what the hope is, at least?
No, there's nothing I can add. I mean, we'll reevaluate in a week, and we'll let you know what's going on then.
Yeah, and is there any update on JK?
Nope. He is. He's progressing, but it was a pretty bad ankle sprain, and he hasn't been on the court yet or anything. But he's getting rehab every day, and he's doing strength stuff, and he's on the bike, so he's doing as well as possible. But he's nowhere close to being ready to play.
Coach, I know how it is in pro sports. Nobody ever wants to use injuries as an excuse. But what can you say about what you're currently dealing with? Let's throw Pods into this as well. Like, what is realistic to expect of the current group of guys you have available?
Well, I think it's realistic to compete, and if we can put it together, put a good night together like we did in Minnesota, then I think we can win games, and that's the bottom line. But we've got to play well right now to win. This is not a time in the season with all these guys out where we can expect to have a poor shooting night and win. It's just not the case. Ordinarily, in full strength, you'd like to say, hey, look, if we defend and we take care of the ball, we can win without shooting well. But frankly, right now, we've got to make shots. We've got to make threes to win. The game I mentioned in Minnesota, all those guys were out that night, and we went on the road and we beat a hell of a team. So I know we're capable, but there's no doubt we got to play well for us to get a win.
You mentioned the confidence aspect a number of times and whether or not it comes from winning or produces winning. What about the frustration level right now? Because I see Steph after these games, and it looks like the dauber's a little bit down, and he seems pretty frustrated by what's going on. What's the overall mood in the locker room with, not only last night where you get beat by 40, but in general, the state of the team?
I think the state of the team is good. We have great guys. They compete. They're together. They're connected. But losing sucks. I mean, if you're Steph Curry and you've won 4 championships and a gold medal and you're used to being on top, this really sucks. And so I don't think there's anything to read into when you see Steph hanging his head or guys hanging their head other than losing is no fun, and right now, after a 40-point loss, nobody's going to be in a good mood. So I don't think it will affect tomorrow. I expect our guys to come in and be ready to roll tomorrow and put forth a great effort. And like I said, if we can put together a game and get multiple guys knocking down shots, take care of the ball, and defend at a high level, I have no doubt we can win.
Steve Kerr is with us here, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Coach, last week, the conversation, because I wanted to ask you about fan concerns that Steph would get to the point that he would ask out, right? And we went through all that, and you obviously were very clear that, Steph ever being on another team is not even something that you worry about. It leads me to this. As things approach here, with the injuries you have, the deadline a couple of weeks away, is there anything else that the organization views as off the table?
Well, first of all, that's a Mike Dunleavy question. Honestly, I mean, as the coach, it's not my decision to talk about trades and that sort of thing. With that said, Mike and I talk every day, and we're collaborating. And I talk with Joe, and we're all in this together. And I think it's Mike's responsibility to look at everything, what's out there, and he's talking to teams constantly, and he's gauging, what's happening around the league, and he's going to do his job. And I have the utmost faith in him. And if there's anything out there, he's going to come tell me, and we'll hash it out. We'll talk about it. But that's what the trade deadline is about, and everybody in the league is making calls these days.
Is there a sense of urgency between now and the deadline in 16 days to continue to put the team in a position to where making an addition makes sense?
No question. No question. I mean, everyone made a huge deal out of Steph's comments last week about, not mortgaging the future. I said the same things. I think Draymond said the same thing. I mean, this is, the smart thing to do for sure is to preserve the team's future and not take some wild gamble. That doesn't mean you're not looking at everything else. You look around the league, you see how can we improve our team? How can we make life easier for Steph? Is there anything out there? And that's what Mike's job is, and that's what he's doing. So the obvious answer is you hope you can do something to improve the team and give yourself a chance to make a run this year. But you sure don't give away multiple picks and pick swaps and all that for some wild stab at making a run when it's it just seems so unlikely to find a player who could make that kind of a difference without giving up so much of your future.
Steve Kerr with us, Willard and Dibs. Coach, the last two games brought players back to Chase Center that you certainly have history with. So I wanted to ask you about both of them, your interactions with Jordan Poole over the weekend, and then also Jason Tatum after everything that was made of his Olympics experience. What were those both like?
Oh, great. I mean, fantastic conversations and interactions with, former Warriors, USA guys, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown. I coached him back in 19, in the World Cup. It's always really fun to see guys that you have a relationship with. And so I got a chance to visit with all those guys, including Jason, after the game last night. And it was great to see them. And I always am pulling for guys who I have coached. Jordan is just such a great young guy, and I'm really pulling for him. I think he's starting to put it together, and he obviously had a great night against us. But that's part of the fun, aspect of the league and, coaching internationally is you develop these relationships and you get to see a lot of guys who you coached in the past. And that's a fun part of it.
Coach, it seems like there are a lot of assumptions about how Jason Tatum felt about all that. What can you tell people that maybe is not what they really think about the relationship you have with him?
Oh man, we texted after the game in Boston a couple of months ago, and we talked the last night after the game. I will tell you that Jason was an absolute dream to coach. During all that stuff, that so-called controversy, you might notice there wasn't a single quote from Jason. It was everybody else talking about it. Jason's an amazing guy and incredible player, and he couldn't have handled it any better when he was there. But the reality is, it's 2024. These guys are all in the spotlight. There's so much pressure on them, and so that whole thing was overblown, but also just kind of a modern media type thing. But he handled it beautifully. We won a gold medal. Everybody's happy. I don't even think about it anymore, to be honest with you.
And it's got to be difficult when you have 12 of the best players in the world and you can really only play 10 of them. So somebody's going to have to be the odd man out. And as you look ahead, Steven, you've got Sacramento coming up and a game that certainly you're hoping to get right. What do you focus on as areas that immediately need to be improved upon coming off the game against Boston?
Well, I think offensive rhythm is a phrase that I use a lot, and it's a little ambiguous what it means. It's not plays. It's not calling a set and running a set. It's there's a flow to the game that we have to achieve that has always been kind of our guiding light. I would say organizationally, offensively with Steph Curry, there's a flow, and you guys have seen it, you've felt it. I'm really looking for that, and I think it's we get it sometimes, and other times we don't. I don't want it to depend on making shots. I want us to be able to generate momentum and flow through the movement, through the ball movement, through the passing and the cutting, and I think we lacked some of that last night. We got to get back to that. I give Boston a lot of credit. There's a reason they're the champs. They have this great multi-position switching defense that makes it really hard on you, and so I give them credit. But what I'm looking for is offensive rhythm to generate the flow and the momentum and the good vibe that we're looking for.
Coach, what's gotten into the Kings, by the way?
Well, they're a talented team. They've been really good, the last couple of years, and they're finally healthy, and they've got a good vibe. I think they lost a lot of really tough games early in the season. Really difficult games that, down the stretch, ball doesn't bounce their way, whatever. And that was a tough stretch for them. Obviously, it cost Mike his job, but when you look at their team now, they're in a good groove. Doug is doing a really good job with them, but they're just. I think they're playing with more confidence, and they're playing well, and they're on a good run. So we're gonna have to battle tomorrow to get them.
And what do you do to go up against Sabonis, which normally it's kind of a Draymond thing, and we all love to watch Draymond and Damas go head to head. What's the plan to try to keep him off the glass and keep him in check?
Yeah, I mean, it's Trace and Loon. Those two guys are going to have to tag team. We found some success, I think, over the last couple of weeks of giving those guys, 4 or 5 minute stretches and then flipping them and just allowing each of them to play really hard for those 4 minute stretches. And so you'll see more of that tomorrow. And Sabonis is a handful, and we'll need both Loon and Trace to play well.
Coach, I don't know if this was a statement you made, but it's certainly been reported that for now Steph was not going to play back-to-backs. Is that the case again this week?
I don't know yet. I mean, I think, there was a stretch there when his knees were bothering him where it was mandated. Rick decided during that stretch, there's just no way that this would be a good idea for him to play back-to-backs. And but I haven't talked to him this week about, the Chicago game. Steph's planning on playing tomorrow. He came out of last night's game feeling good, so he'll be out there tomorrow, and we'll reevaluate. We'll reassess after the game. But that's a conversation that Steph and Rick and I have to have, and we'll see where it goes.
When you look glass half full after a 40-point blowout, is that maybe the only positive you can take out of it, the fact that a lot of your guys didn't have to play that much?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a silver lining, if there is one. So everybody should be good to go tomorrow. We're hoping to get BP and Kyle back later this week, not tomorrow, but we're hoping for one of the games later this week, and we need those guys. They'll be helpful for sure.
Coach Steve Kerr with us on Willard and Dibs. Coach, I certainly don't want to belabor an old issue, but did you see the tweet from Draymond Green seemingly directed toward Jordan Poole after the game over the weekend?
I did not. I am blissfully ignorant when it comes to social media.
Okay, well, let me steal that from you and let you know that I guess Jordan had a quote after the game that went something along the lines of, "I really love those guys over there," talking about your locker room, and then said, "I love most of those guys over there." and then Draymond responded to that quote by saying, "I really am sorry, man." And so I wonder if is this still something that where he's got guilt over what happened?
You got to ask him. Yeah, I mean, I'm not on social media for a reason, and I love Jordan. I love Draymond. Families have disputes. Stuff happens. We can all still love each other.
You're missing a lot of good stuff now, Steve, on the X.
Yeah, I'm missing a lot of good stuff, and it is awesome missing all that good stuff.
Yeah, you probably weren't affected by the 12 hours where TikTok went away over the weekend. You probably didn't even know about TikTok.
Well, I do follow the news, so I'm aware of it. But believe me, it did not affect my life one bit.
My kids were into a panic. Yeah. My 20-year-old kids were panic-stricken for half a day, Steve.
I actually had a TikTok dance set for tonight, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Oh, you can schedule those things ahead. You know that, don't you, Steve?
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I'll talk to the kids. The kids these days can help me out with it.
Hey, Steve, we're taking note of the fact that it sounds like you're in a car, and it makes me think of our last conversation. And I'm wondering if you did indeed have a chance to go visit family and see what's going on down in Southern California and how everybody's doing.
I did. I flew down Sunday. We had a day off, and I flew down for the day. My brothers came in town, and we went up to my mom's house. And first time that any of us had seen the neighborhood and the remains of the house. So it was a difficult day, but I'm so glad we were able to do it and be together with my mom. And really tough to see our hometown just completely wiped out like that.
And there's not any real way to describe the feeling, I can imagine, but it probably wasn't closure, and it had to be a mix of helplessness and sadness, right?
Yeah, I mean it's not closure. It's a different feeling of more shock when you see up close that type of devastation, especially a place that has been home for the family for 50 years. Really difficult. We have so many friends who are in the exact same situation, who lost their homes. And then even downtown Pacific Palisades, just to see, so the supermarkets are just burned out, and, half my high school burned down. And so it's, visiting with other people. And there is a sense of community loss, and I think in some ways that is actually bonding. I mean, my mom had so many friends who are in the same boat, and so they are commiserating, but also really supporting one another, and there's some comfort in that as well.
Well, Steve, first of all, thank you for sharing that, and certainly glad that you were able to get down there with this time and do that, and our thoughts continue to be with you and everybody affected down there as well. So safe travels, and we look forward to a couple more basketball games the next 2 nights. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys are the best. We'll talk to you next week.